Hello, everyone. Welcome to the For Competitors Only podcast. My name is Ben, along with D'Lo and new member Miles. We got a great podcast for you tonight. We are just 8 games away from the Miami Heat playoffs, and we're going to discuss all about the playoffs tonight, including who we would like to face, some playoff rotation, as well as get into a little bit of our two great wins the last 2 games. So if you have any questions, if you're here live, please make sure to comment. We will answer all of them as we go along. So welcome. Happy Easter. Happy Easter to you as well out there. And what a night to be able to do the podcast with a Heat win against the Wizards. Usually a game I would go to, but due to the holiday, I can't. So let's jump into it, though. We've seen 2 good games now. 2 very bad opponents, but a record-breaking win for the Heat the other night, 60 points against the Portland Trail Blazers. That was the second largest. Unfortunately, the Blazers are having it rough this year. They lost to the Thunder by 62, so they are taking a beating. A phenomenal win for the Heat, and then tonight they pulled away in the second half to beat a Wizards team they should have beat by 12. So let's jump right into it. Let's start with Miles, our new member. We're happy to have him here on the podcast. What have you seen out of the Heat the last 2 games and these very convincing wins? And what does that look like leading into the playoffs?
What I've seen is a lot of energy. Guys fighting for loose balls. The 3-point shooting has been amazing. Haywood Highsmith himself has just looked like, an all-star out there. The way we're coming together, the fits, I'm really liking it. It's giving us some really good momentum going into the playoffs. Jimmy hasn't had to do everything. Other guys are stepping up. Getting Duncan back was huge. He started slow, but came in back-to-back threes. That shooting was missed. So I'm seeing a lot of energy, and I think Spo has the guys ready. I think we're ready to go into these playoffs and make another run and hopefully win it all this year.
Yeah, D'Lo, I mean, were you expecting a 60-point win the other night? I mean, they were, 15-point favorites maybe, and they win
Dude,
by 60?
dude, God no! I fell asleep before the game even started. I woke up in the third quarter. I was baffled. I woke up happy, dude. The first time in a while. Like now, the Miami Heat have a great standard of losing the teams we were supposed to beat against. So I mean, when I woke up and saw we were winning, I mean, granted, I didn't want to get my hopes up, but I was hyped. We're playing like how we're supposed to, man. We're hitting shots. We're playing defense. Guys are coming off the bench and making immediate impact. Like we're doing great. We're playing good Heat basketball, man. I miss my guy Dunk these last 5 games. It's been real long and lonely. But oh yeah, we're good. We're doing great. I mean, it's a great day when Jimmy gets to coast the whole game, still ends up with 17 points, and we get a win. So what? Yeah, you can't complain.
Yeah, 2 depleted teams, and from Miami, sometimes they struggle against that. Miami always has you on the edge of their seat when they should be blowing out teams, and a little scared tonight. I mean, they were up by 18, they cut it back to single digits. I was like, "Don't do this to me, Miami."
God, not again.
Not again is right. But glad to have Duncan Robinson back. Glad to have some other guys getting healthy. Tyler Hero obviously still out, but Kevin Love going to be coming back. Duncan Robinson back tonight. It's good to have those guys back before the playoffs. So that was 2 games that are past now. We are a half game back from the Pacers right now for the 6th seed. We did pull ahead a little bit. We're a game and a half ahead of the Sixers for the 8th seed and slowly creeping back up. The 5, 4, and 3 are also very close and still able to grab. This week is a huge week for Miami, though. They have the New York Knicks coming up on Tuesday, a team that they took care of last year in the playoffs, but struggling a little bit against this year. The 76ers, who they've had luck with, but there is reports that Joel Embiid could be back for that game. The Houston Rockets, who are battling to try to get a play-in spot, a 1 game back from the Warriors, and as well as the Indiana Pacers, that team that's a half a game ahead of us, all coming up this week for Miami. So, Miles, what are we looking forward to this week? How is Miami going to do? Obviously, this is make or break for Miami to possibly not have to have a play-in game.
Right. It's a huge week, and I'm expecting playoff intensity. We got to come out. It starts with the Knicks. I think they're the best team out of all of them. Jalen Brunson is on an absolute heater. He's looking like one of the best players in the league right now. Their defense, they usually don't let up 100 points. We can be the same way, so it's going to be a gritty battle. Tom Thibodeau, Eric Spoelstra, we're used to that rivalry. Starts with them. Hopefully we can pick up a big win there, and I think that would give us some momentum going on. The Rockets, you said they're fighting for a playoff spot. I think they're playing right now, but they're on like 11-game win streak. Jalen Green's playing out of his mind. And it goes all the way till that Pacers game. I think, we maybe lose one game here, hopefully clean sweep it, and it really pushes us with some momentum into the playoffs and avoiding that play-in. I know we could win in the play-in. We did it last year, but to not have to play in and get the rest, I think it would be huge.
Oh, yeah. And D'Lo, out of all these games, I mean, they're all very important, but how do you see the Heat doing this week? Can we sweep?
For sure, without a doubt. I really don't even want us to get all uppity and hype. I really want the Heat to act like we've been here before. Go to each game, clean slate, simple mindset, go in, get the dub next game. Like, we only got 7 left, so don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't exert yourself 100% every game, knowing we're going to have one of the top seeds to go against in the playoffs. So, hopefully the Pacers lose against Brooklyn tomorrow. That'll put us up 1. Hopefully we beat the Knicks in 2 days. Well, yeah, 2 days technically. But yeah, I really just want us to keep our calm, straight composure, go in, 10+ point win, go home. Easy, simple, no stress. Do what we got to do and go home.
Yeah, I mean, these are huge. Obviously, the Sixers and the Pacers more than the other two. The non-conference game against the Rockets, if we would lose that would be the game I'd prefer to lose. But the Sixers and the Pacers are the key ones here, and we've done well against those two teams this year. The Knicks obviously are fighting just as hard. These are all teams fighting hard. And this is where that Jimmy Butler mentality's got to come out tonight. We didn't really see that. I mean, it was the Wizards. He made it look easy. He was kind of jogging around a little bit, right? I was like, all right, come on, Jimmy. I think one time Bam tried to throw a pass to him. It went out of bounds, and they said Bam should have went up with it. I'm like, Jimmy should have just got the ball.
I know. I remember that. Yeah. I was like, Eric, what are you talking about? Did you tell me Bam should have went up on 2 people while Jimmy was right there and had Butterfingers? Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I was like, Jimmy, hustle a little bit. He was just jogging on the court. I mean, I think we're going to see a different mentality out of Jimmy in these next 4 games. But every game here counts. Obviously, then after the Pacers, you have the Mavericks, who is going to be a tough matchup. Luckily, I get to go to that game, so maybe I'll bring that Heat magic luck. And then we got back-to-back with the Raptors to finish out the season. All meaningful games, very meaningful games the rest of the way out. And a chance to not have to play in that play-in. Last year, they scared us half to death, right? It's like we could have not even made the playoffs. Losing the first one and then coming back with a few minutes to go against the Bulls, it's scary, but we got it done. So we're talking about the playoffs coming up, and of course the play-in. Last year, winning it as the 8th seed, and this year not wanting to have to go through that stress and being so close to not having to worry about the play-in. But there's a lot of very good competitive teams in the East. And you're talking about potentially even being able to pass up Cleveland, New York, that are sitting at 3 and 4. And then, of course, you have the Magic, who have lost 3 of their last 4. And then you have the Pacers, who are right in front of us by a half a game. Of course, the top 2 teams, I would say, are the Bucks and the Celtics. You guys can agree or disagree. But Miles, what would an ideal Miami Heat matchup look like? Would you rather us be up somewhere as the 4 seed, but playing a tougher team, or sitting back maybe at 6 and drawing somebody easier in the first round? Like, what is the ideal first round matchup for this Miami Heat team?
Well, I said the ideal matchup would be somehow play the Magic at that 4 and 5 matchup spot. They've been little brother for years. They got a good squad, Paolo Banchero. They got a lot of young, energetic guys. but no discredit to them. I think it's more of a possibility that we're going to be playing Cleveland at that 4 or 5 spot if we do overpass to get in there. And, as we probably will have it, we're going to play the Knicks at that 3 and 6, which I think would be the most intense matchup. Like I said, defense on defense. But Cleveland, they have some size. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell, he's been hurt in and out. He's back. But I think we're ready to compete against anybody. But my ideal matchup would definitely be Magic, then Cleveland. And if it comes down to the matchup with New York, let's get it. It's going to be a war.
Interesting to not say Indiana. If Indiana was in there, where would you put Indiana at the end of that list?
I would rather play the Magic than Indiana, personally. Halliburton is just an amazing playmaker. Siakam has come to that team and provided some much-needed scoring. So I don't see we would play Indiana unless it gets to that 4 or 5 spot. It definitely could. But, I would definitely rank it most wanting to play the Magic, then the Pacers, then Cleveland, then the Knicks.
D'Lo, what do you think?
Sheesh. Yeah, Miles made a great point there. I don't want to see the Pacers at all. I mean, granted, they have no real playoff experience, but I've seen what they can do, and I don't want it. All right. But yeah, I mean, the East runs through Miami, so bring us anybody. I could care less. Boston, the Bucks, Magic, the Knicks, the Pacers. It doesn't matter. Bring on. Just don't put us in the play-in, because after last year, after whipping the Hawks all season, just to get demolished all game in a play-in game, and then struggle with Chicago, who we also whooped all season. Ridiculous, man. So I really hope we make it out of the playoffs. I mean, my ideal first-round matchup, it's really a coin toss. I mean, I do like the Magic. Just like I said earlier, they have no real playoff experience. I mean, who on the team really does besides maybe Joe Ingles? I mean, and I don't think he's pulling much weight for that squad. But I would say the Magic. I mean, 4-0 sweep, do what we do, go home next round. So I would say the Magic. Maybe even the Cavs. I like to play against the Cavs. I was real scared of their size last season, but for some reason this season it doesn't seem like it's playing much of effect. I mean, granted, our last matchup they were without Donovan Mitchell, their best scorer, and their point guard was in foul trouble, Darius Garland. So I mean, anything can happen. But I would say my ideal route would definitely be knock the Magic out first. Strangely enough, I don't want to play the Knicks. The Knicks are a way better team than they were last year, and they took us to 6 games. I mean, granted, it wasn't that hard of a 6 games. It should have been 5, but they might give us a good run for 7 this year. But I don't want to see the Knicks. So, realistically, I hope we get the Cavs. Next up, give us the Bucks. Wishful thinking here. Whoever beats the Celtics, we'll take them too. So hopefully they lose, because they do have a real big chip on the shoulder against us. I don't think they will want to lose 2 series in a row. Especially to us. As their biggest rivals today. So that's just my little route. Hopefully we get some traction going before the end of the season, and we get the Cavs. So that's what I want, really.
Yeah, and Miles, you're getting a lot of love here in the comments if you're reading this, saying your stuff, and I have to agree with your take. I mean, I think the Magic would be the first round ideal matchup at the 4-5 if it's possible there. I just think the inexperience, like you said, of the Magic not being there in a while and their young team would really help out Miami a lot. Miami, it does good against the tough competition, though. They live up to it. So would a team like the Magic, scare the Heat a little bit? Maybe they play down a little bit. Miles, you and I were talking about being Steeler fans. The Steelers are always playing down to their competition. Miami could be the same way. But I would definitely ideally like to play the Magic first. Cleveland, just because we have done well against them this year. I would say them second, and then I would say the Pacers third, and I would put the Knicks fourth. I just think the Knicks are really hot, and they're seeking some revenge. I don't know. Does anybody have an update on the score of the Knicks game right now? Are we moving up at all? I might have to take a look at that because
I'm not
will
sure. I
update
think they
us
were going at it.
in about a couple of seconds. The Knicks are losing. Hey.
down 6 with 4 minutes to go. So hopefully the Thunder hold off on, or the Thunder hold on for the win. That would put Cleveland back up to the 3, the New York Knicks back to the 4, and then only 3.5 games back there. Or actually, that would be it looks like 3 games back on the Knicks. So a lot of possibility coming. Knicks coming back. Don't worry. Is Joshua a big Knicks fan? It looks like. That's not good. That's not good. Obviously, what we did to him last year was great. A good friend of mine is a big Knicks fan. So
Oh God,
he can't. I invited him over last year for the game, and one of the games that we won, a nice victory, And the Heat though do struggle against Jalen Brunson though. I mean Brunson.
dude, I was just about to say that. Like, didn't he score 60 last game? Like, I don't want to see that. Oh God.
No. So obviously we will take on whoever and we will compete as the Heat, but we would like to have an easy first round to move on. And so I think Magic, then Cleveland, then Indiana would be what we would hope for, but anything's possible in these last 2 weeks. So we're talking about who we would like to play, but let's talk internally about our Miami Heat team. Obviously, Eric Spoelstra likes to throw around different lineups. We've had a ton of different starting lineups this season, mainly due to injury, but Spo does like to throw guys in there. So who are some guys that are really stepping up as of late that you think will have a spot in our rotation? Obviously, we know Terry Rozier, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo. Those guys are always going to be. But who are some guys that have been stepping it up lately that you're like, yep, they're earning minutes and they need to be in that playoff rotation that normally drops down to 8 guys? It's a shorter lineup because you want to go with your top guys. You're going to play your starters more. So Miles, you've got the hot hand according to the comments right now. So what guys do you like on our team that are going to earn more minutes and have a spot in that playoff rotation?
What we want to hear.
Yeah, first and foremost, I want to mention DeLon Wright. The production he's provided us with since Tyler Hero has gone down, the perimeter defense, the hustle, even on offense, making good passes, getting to the rim. I feel like he can find his way into the rotation and really provide us with something we're missing. We have Terry, Hero, Duncan. Our guards aren't the best defensively. So to have a DeLon Wright come in and maybe guard a Jalen Brunson or guard a Halliburton, I feel like that could be a big presence there on the defensive side. Nikola Jovic, I mean, since he's gotten the green light starting, I think, 15 games straight now, he's looked great. The size that he provides next to Bam Adebayo is something we've always missed. Having Caleb Martin at the 4, even Love, Jovic, his length. It really helps when Bam, we switch everything. Bam comes out to the guard. He throws up a mid-range shot. We still have someone down there to get a rebound, get an outlet. I'm curious to see, with Kevin Love, obviously he had the heel injury coming back. I feel like it's smart to kind of rest him, ease him in a little bit. But when we get into the playoffs, his veteran presence and leadership, I think, will be huge for us. Obviously, the great outlet passes. And I feel like when Kevin Love's shot is falling, we're a scary team. So those 3 guys. Also, Haywood Highsmith, I think he definitely deserves a role, whether that's, a full bench role, whether that's limited to, 10, 12 minutes a game. When he comes in, and again, when he's hitting his shots, his 3-and-D is absolutely amazing. So I think DeLon Wright and Haywood Highsmith, with what they bring defensively, is going to be big. And even Jovic, if he can continue to grow and continue to score like the way he has been, the 3-point shooting has been great. I think those 3 guys will be pretty big for us in the playoff rotation.
Yeah, Mikey is in the comments saying, "Is this Miles' first time on the show? Where is he from?" He's loving you. He's loving you. So West Palm Beach, he said he's from. So down there, on the coast, and they asked if you have your own channel. I don't know. Do you have your own YouTube channel?
Not as of yet, but I plan on making it tonight even.
Yeah.
That way we can keep it
Expanding.
going and get it all throughout the playoff run. I'm really excited. I think these next couple of weeks here are going to be huge, and see where it takes us.
Yeah. So you mentioned a lot of great names there, and you mentioned a lot of great experience in the playoffs. Even adding a guy like Bryant, who of late has been playing some good ball. Little struggle tonight, but that's okay. Kevin Love's got the veteran experience there, and guys like that have been there before. Come playoff time is absolutely huge. Even Patty Mills didn't get any playing time tonight. Not really playing that great as of late, but when it comes down to playoff experience, Spo might consider that. So D'Lo, kind of the same question to you. What's that rotation going to look like in the playoffs?
I like how our starting up lineup is now, but Tyler comes back within these next few games. Of course he's gonna get the starting role. I mean, we baby the man for God's sake. Tell him to come off the bench, do a couple games, and we'll see from there. At least that's what I would tell him. But who am I? I think we keep our standard lineup, except for just replace Duncan with Tyler. I like Jovic in the starting lineup. I don't know. I'm gonna check how many minutes he got today. Usually he only gets like 15 through 20. I'm fine with Jovic getting a solid 25. Yeah, he only had 22 tonight. I think Jovic should get a solid 25 through 30. I mean, more on the 20, the lower side of the 25, but he's really earned it. I mean, he only had 2 less rebounds than Bam, and at one point they had the same amount of rebounds. So I mean, he's definitely helping. He can bring the ball up before, he can shoot, he can space. Of course he can space if he can shoot. He can space floor, he can pass. He can do everything you want from a power forward, especially at 6'10", young guy. He needs the experience. He didn't play as much as he should have last year. This offseason he had in Serbia, did him good. So I really hope to see Jovic, at least stay in the starting lineup. And if he does stay, at least get 25 minutes, at least, bro. I mean, the man does no wrong sometimes. I'm not gonna say all that. But off the bench, I think our standard 3, Duncan, Jaime, and Haywood, I think they all come off the bench together. I mean, depending on how everything goes. Because that's what we'll do. We'll take out the 3, leave Terry and Bam in there, and implement 3 more guys in there. But I feel like DeLon, he'll be more of a plug and play kind of guy. Whatever we need. Like, let's say if we just so happen to go against the Knicks, Jalen Brunson is torching us, then I feel like we throw DeLon right in there, or throw DeLon right in there. I mean, I know what we're gonna do about the K-Love Thomas Bryant's minutes. I don't know how they're gonna split that up. I mean, Thomas Bryant has been on a tear recently. I mean, he had an okay game today, but every day you can't be the number one option. Thomas Bryant, solid rebounder, good physical guy. I mean, you always need that kind of energy in the playoffs. So I feel like he's definitely getting a spot in there. That's the one big problem with the Miami Heat. I mean, Spo thinks everybody can have an impact, so he's going to play everybody. And when it comes playoff times and these short rotations get in, it's hard to crunch the numbers down. So I mean, I feel like he will stretch it to a 9-man rotation. I mean, ninth man being DeLon Wright for situational purposes. I think Thomas and Kevin Love, I think, again, situational. I think they share those minutes with just what we need. Like, if we need like deep size, we'll go with Thomas Bryant. I mean, if we need to space the floor a little bit, the paint is clogged, I think we'll throw Kevin Love in there. So I mean, Spo's a genius. He's a madman. Real jack of all trades. So I mean, we'll just have to see when we get there.
Yeah, obviously the mindset is going to be every man ready. They're going to pull anybody at any time, but there's also going to be a short leash for all of those guys. If it's a matchup between Bryant and Love, so all right, maybe Love gets the start, but if he's struggling, I think that's a quick pull and Bryant coming in. Even DeLon Wright and Patty Mills. Like personally, I think DeLon Wright should get the start over him because of his defensive ability at the guard position, and we saw it tonight against his former team. But then again, if we need the shooting, then maybe it's more of a Patty Mills. So it's going to be situational. It always is. Guys are going to get more minutes in certain games and certain playoff matchups. But that's what I like about maybe the first round pulling a Magic team, because I think that's a good team to be able to try everything against. And that way, when you get to a tougher team, not saying the Magic aren't tough, but when you take a look at the playoffs, there are inexperienced teams. Obviously, we saw what happened to the Cleveland Cavaliers last year, who were inexperienced for a while without LeBron James going to the playoffs. So I think that Orlando Magic matchup could really help Miami key in those 9, because we've listed off so many guys, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Kevin Love, Thomas Bryant, Haywood Highsmith, DeLon Wright, Patty. I mean, the list goes on, but it's good to have that depth there, obviously, because Spo can pull from any of those people and hopefully get some production out of a key 7-8 guys that he can count on for every game. So that is what I think is going to be the key thing to watch here in this last 2 weeks of Miami Heat basketball, is who is getting those minutes, what the rotations are looking like. So when it comes playoff time, he can say, hey, this lineup that we had in there, or these second string guys we had in there, was great. That was what we were looking for. So I like it, though. I like that we can go a little bit deeper. And last year, you might have not have been able to say that as much, even though it's some familiar faces. But a guy like Haywood Highsmith, really comes out when you're talking about a guy like that this shooting has been incredible for Haywood. Last year I met Haywood Highsmith at one of the last games against the Wizards, and it was a game where we were playing pretty much our G League team. We had already pretty much clinched where we were going to be in the playoffs. So no Tyler, no Kevin Love, no Bam, no Jimmy. It was Jamal Cain. It was Haywood Highsmith, Max Strus. So I asked him, I said, "You're going to put up 30 tonight?" And he's like, "No, I'm just a defensive guy."
I remember that.
Yeah. He's like, "I'm just a defensive guy." I was like, all right. So when he came out of the tunnel, I think he had like 8-10 points at halftime. And I was like, "You need about 20 more there, Haywood." And he looked back at me. But taking that from last year to this year, he's really been productive on the offensive end. He is that defensive presence, Haywood Locksmith. But he has been shooting the 3 ball magnificently. And Terry Rozier shot the 3 ball really well tonight.
I know y'all saw that Harden step back two games ago.
Yeah.
He's got it in the bag. He's got it in the bag. It's there.
He does. So there's a lot to look forward to with the playoffs coming up. I'm really excited. Obviously, Miami Heat basketball in the playoffs is the best time of year. You can't get any better than that. So that's kind of what we wanted to cover tonight. I know we've had a lot of comments in the chat. So if anybody is here in the chat and has any questions for us, we'll stick around for a minute. We have Miles, D'Lo, and myself ready to answer any questions. I kind of want to stick around to see what happens in this next game right now. The Thunder up by 1 with 12 seconds to go. So Anthony.
Miss free throw. I didn't even see.
Anthony Massimino asks, how do we feel about trading some of these depth pieces for your big name, given Butler isn't getting any older? So, D'Lo, we'll start with you this time.
Ben, you're reading my mind. I'm glad you let me go first. Anthony, absolutely. Patty, DeLon, Haywood. I'm not going to say Jaime. I like how he is. But any of those depth bench pieces, man, put them on the block. All right? Our time frame is getting short, all right? In terms of time frame, and since 2020, when we first made the finals, this year's supposed to be our year, all right? This is year 4 since touching the finals. We went last year, and we're right there every time. Y'all see this? We're right there every time. We need that one big fish, just one. I don't care. I wouldn't. Well, I guess I can say it's center. I don't care if it's a shooting guard, small forward, point guard. I don't care who minutes has to get bumped back. All right. Somebody is gonna have to rub shoulders and make room. All right. We need. Like in terms of time, we're right here. All right, guys. We are right there. We should have won a chip last year. This year, next year, and maybe even the next year is our years. This is what we have to capitalize on the most. All right. Jimmy's going up in the rafters pretty soon, guys. We gotta be efficient. We gotta do it now. I mean, I don't care whose name you gotta put on the block. If it's not Bam or Jimmy, hey man, we must do what we have to do.
So just some guys, and we'll get to Miles, but some free agents
How the Knicks up?
Did they win? I saw they were up by 1.
They are. 4 seconds left. Oh man.
Thunder called timeout, so the Thunder could score here. But some guys that are free agents coming up here in 2024. Obviously, it could be sign and trade. Obviously, it could be straight up trade. So we could really go for anybody. But guys like Klay Thompson, Tobias Harris, James Harden, Pascal Siakam, DeMar DeRozan, Buddy Hield. You would think Hield that just signed with the Sixers would sign back. D'Angelo Russell. There is some big fish out there. Paul George, another name that might be up for trade talks. And Zach LaVine, another name. I assume that was the Thunder. I assume the Thunder did something.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, nice little mid-range.
1.8 left, though. Is it a game over?
I think
I'm out 1 second. Next,
I think they may move it back to 2.6. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So we'll wait for the reaction from D'Lo while Miles talks. Any guys that you would like off of that list, or maybe in general that maybe are even hearing that Miami would like to go after?
Yeah, hopefully Pat Riley has his ears open. He's exploring the block, seeing what's out there. Because like we mentioned, our window isn't closing, I would say, but it's not going to last forever. We do have a good future set up with Jaime and Bam. I think when we spoke about what depth pieces we can move, I think a lot of those guys are Heat guys. The league may not view them as good as we see them in and out every night. I think the big trade piece we have is going to be Tyler. Obviously, with his injury, it's kind of hurt his trade value. I'm not saying we should trade Tyler, but that's going to be the guy that we're able to trade to go get a big star like that. But to be perfectly honest, I think Terry Rozier was the pickup. I think we've already seen him come in and provide us. It's even going to get better in the playoffs. I mean, he's top 3 in clutch field goals made. He's hit a couple game winners for us already. So that down crunch time, I was super hyped with Terry Rozier. I think that was a huge pickup for us. So I'm not really looking towards the offseason. I think we got the squad already to go win this thing. So as long as we come together and do it, I don't think, obviously, like I said, look at the market, see what's out there. But I think we got our core right now to make a championship run and also to be super competitive over the next 2-3 years.
Yeah. Anthony also said, I'm thinking a center move, Bam to the 4. Some guys I'm seeing on the list is Jonas Valanciunas. A guy that I really like, and I think that would fit that Heat mold, would be Nick Claxton from the Nets. He's a solid center. Not too many crazy names out there. A lot of them are kind of backups. Claxton and Valanciunas obviously could be starters. But a guy that has had interest in Miami before that I wouldn't mind us going after would be DeMar DeRozan. I think he's still in his prime. Obviously, he's a little bit older as well. He would be roughly starting next season about 35 years old, but definitely a phenomenal talent there. Pascal Siakam, maybe he'll be 30 here soon. But some of the guys at the top of the list aren't guys that I really think Miami would go after. Obviously, some interest from maybe Klay Thompson. But the guy I would prefer to go after would be DeMar DeRozan. So, and the Thunder did win. So a great win for the Thunder. Shay, we thank you. Joshua says DeMar DeRozan would be tough. I agree. If you recall back when we got Kyle Lowry, there was interest for us instead to get DeMar DeRozan, who I would have preferred. So there are some guys out there. Obviously, at that point, I would push Jimmy probably up to the 2, and then or flip flop, Jimmy and DeMar there. But that'd be a huge big 3, and potentially, depending on what our salary cap looks like, you might just be able to sign DeMar. It might, or it could be a sign and trade for Tyler Hero. Obviously, the name out there. So now that we know that the Knicks have lost, that does push them to the 4, and we are 3 games now behind the New York Knicks. So an even bigger game coming up here on Tuesday with a chance to move up.
Yeah.
I like that reaction, D-Lo. I figure something good happened with that. So, yeah. But we're going to wrap up the podcast here this evening. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening and for the comments in the chat. It was phenomenal. D-Lo, as always, great to have you here. Great to have you in that Duncan Robinson jersey. Love it every time.
I'm going to show up in it every time.
Miles, it's a pleasure having you on the podcast for the first time, and this definitely won't be the last time. You're definitely part of the Heat Culture family here now. And as we continue to go into the playoffs, make sure you're following Heat Culture and the 4 Competitors Only podcast, as we are going to provide updates and some great podcast opportunities here at the end of the season. So thank you, everybody, for joining in tonight. Hopefully you had a great Easter. And let's lock in here to these last 2 weeks of Miami Heat basketball.
Yep. Big game Tuesday. Thank you guys so much for coming out. Look forward to, continue to do this. We're only going to have more and more to talk about as we get closer to the playoffs. Starts Tuesday with the big game. So, again, thank you guys. Happy Easter. Everyone have a blessed night.